All right, welcome in for another episode here of Mount Polumbus Speaks. Do a little daily debrief with you guys and go over a few things here with the Broncos, maybe a couple things with the Colorado Buffaloes. Buffs got their pro day coming up. Of course, they don't just call it their pro day. They got to call it something else. They call it the showcase. So we've got the showcase coming up on, I believe it's April 4th. Is that the same day as opening day for the Rockies? Whatever day that is. Colorado's got their pro day coming up. It will be the highest attended pro day in the history of the University of Colorado between Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. There will be more scouts, GMs, head coaches at the University of Colorado than there's ever been before. I am hopeful to be up there for that pro day, so should be able to give you guys an update from that. Couple other things I want to go over with you guys today. Nothing earth-shattering, but we do need to talk about a little bit of the State of the Union with Denver Broncos. AFC West free agency roundup. Where are we at? What should the Broncos be doing in the first round of the NFL draft this year? I've got some strong opinions on that. There's one hole left on this team that the Broncos, I'm not going to say neglected, but that they chose not to address in free agency. That's the running back position. How can the Broncos solve that? And then there's a few guys left on this team. To be specific, Cortland Sutton, Zach Allen, and Nick Benito, who all need contract extensions. You see what's going on in the NFL right now and how fast these dollar figures are going up with every single contract, and you see the importance of getting ahead of things. There are now 3 cornerbacks in the NFL that are getting paid more than Patrick Surtain. It feels like it was just like yesterday that Pat Surtain became the highest paid corner in the NFL, and there's already 3 guys in front of him. So this is why the Broncos do want to get ahead of things. We'll talk about that. Before we get into today's show, though, do need to take a quick second here to give a shout out to my sponsors. Sorry, I thought my mic wasn't working there for a second. I want to give a quick shout out to my sponsors. My title sponsor is Safeway. I've been working with Safeway now in various forms since, 5-6 years ago, and I'm very grateful to them. I could not do this podcast without Safeway. Are my mic levels just insane? I apologize. Let me get this dialed in here. Okay, I think that should be a little bit better. Sorry if my mic was cracking there. I couldn't do this podcast without Safeway. They are the title sponsor of Mount Polumbus Speaks, and I wouldn't have Safeway without you guys that watch this podcast. So appreciate you guys, and I appreciate Safeway. If you don't have the Safeway app on your phone, on your smart device, you got to go download that today, because Safeway is going to help you save a boatload of money if you order directly on their app. You get points that you get to redeem for discounts down the road, even today, and they're going to handle the rest. Look, I order about once a week. They save my order. I just add 4 or 5 things every single time I order. Literally takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to get my whole order in, and before I know it, my groceries are sitting on my doorstep. So order online, save yourself a boatload of money. Safeway's going to handle the rest. Safeway, fresh foods, local flavors. Also, a quick shout out to Ascend Barbershop. If you're in the Parker area, make sure you go check out Ascend Barbershop. They are a luxury barbershop. I've been going over there for a long time now. Alfred Castro is my man over there. I also see Anthony every now and then. I'm telling you, they're the only ones I trust to cut my hair. And although I've not been in a minute, I'm going in a couple days. I'll get this beard trimmed up. I'll get my hair trimmed up, and you'll see me looking sharp again. So make sure you check out Ascend Barbershop in the Parker area, and I promise you, you will never go anywhere else after you go to Ascend Barbershop. Okay, where do we want to start? CU Pro Day. I don't have a whole lot there, so I'll just do this one relatively quickly. I already talked about it here just a little bit, but I am hopeful to be up there for the CU Pro Day. Might be a little bit tricky because it's the same day as Rockies opening day, and we'll see what happens with my show, where we're supposed to be, PhD, over on Altitude 92.5. But I do hope I can get up to Boulder, because it's going to be an exciting environment. Look, Shedeur Sanders did not work out at the Combine. Travis Hunter did not work out at the Combine. We've got other guys. We got Jimmy Horn. We got LaJonte Wester. We got Will Shepard. Who else am I missing? I'm probably missing a guy or two in there. Basically, your entire wide receiver room from last year have all got draftable grades. Between Shedeur and Travis Hunter, this will be the most attended pro day in the history of the University of Colorado. I would imagine every single team is going to have multiple representatives there, and I can't wait to see it. Look, it'll be fun to see Shedeur Sanders throw. We haven't seen him throw in a while now, and he's going to be thrown to his own guys in his own environment. We'll see Travis Hunter work out a little bit. He didn't work out at the combine. There is a Big 12 Pro Day. It's something new that they started doing. I think just last year was the first year of it, and that's down in Dallas, I believe. That's coming up in a few weeks, and on paper, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are scheduled to attend the Big 12 Pro Day. I'd be shocked if they end up going. I'd be double shocked if they ended up working out. Maybe they go and they meet with teams. But if they put on a decent performance at the CU Pro Day, there'll be no reason for them to work out down at the Big 12 Pro Day. So I wouldn't be banking on much from that. Look, I heard Dion saying today that he thinks that next year's team is going to be deeper and better than last year's. And although I'm a Buff at heart, and I hope he's right, I find that hard to believe, man. I mean, you're losing a top 2 pick in Travis Hunter. You're losing, let's call it safe, a top 10 pick in Shedeur Sanders. You're losing Jimmy Horn. You're losing LaJonte Wester. You're losing Will Sheppard. And Will Sheppard might be my favorite wide receiver on that team, not named Travis Hunter. Think Tim Patrick. That's what you got in Will Sheppard. So I hope Dion's right. I do like the staff that he's assembled. They brought in former Denver Bronco Domata Peko to coach on the defensive line. They brought in former Colorado Buff, former Dallas Cowboy Andre Garode to coach on the offensive line. And they brought in Marshall Faulk to coach the running backs. So we'll see with Marshall Faulk there. You no longer have Shedeur Sanders at QB. Maybe the Buffs will actually run the hell out of the football this year. I think they'll have no choice but to do that. So I think the identity is going to change. I hope they can reload the best they possibly can. But let's keep it real. You lose 2 top 10 picks. You lose your entire wide receiver room. It could be tough. I don't think it's going to be ugly, but I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be as exciting as it was last year. All right, that being said, I hope I should be up there. If I am, I will try to do a podcast live from up in Boulder and give you guys updates from the pro day as we go. Okay, so where are the Broncos at? Well, first off, I give them an A for free agency. Okay, they had 3 guys that they targeted. They targeted Evan Ingram. He was the first dude in the building. They got it done. They targeted Dre Greenlaw. He was my number 1 target in the offseason. I identified him months ago. If you listen to my show, you know I've been talking about Dre Greenlaw for a long time. A lot of people are talking about Zach Bond. A lot of people are talking about Nick Bolton for an upgrade at the inside linebacker position. My dude was always Dre Greenlaw. Broncos got their guy. They got Evan Ingram. They got Dre Greenlaw. They got Talanoa Hufanga. And all of a sudden this Broncos defense does not have a hole on it. Name one. Find a hole on this Denver Broncos defense. It's a trick question. You're not going to find one. You have now got arguably a top 3 secondary in the entire NFL. This should be, I'm not saying they're going to be as good as the no-fly zone, but on paper, that's how good they should be. You got Pat Surtain, you got Riley Moss, you got Talanoa, and you got Brandon Jones. That is a rock-solid defense. You got Dre Greenlaw, man in the middle now. And Dre Greenlaw is going to be the best inside linebacker we've had at least since the Super Bowl 50 team, and maybe even better than that. And I say that with all due respect to my guys Danny DeFrathon and Brandon Marshall. But Dre Greenlaw is an absolute dog. You did get Evan Ingram on the offensive side, and you did bring in another wide receiver from the Vikings who's going to be a special team stud for you, mainly brought in for his special teams ability. So what does that mean for the draft? Well, in the first round, going into free agency, almost every lazy mock draft mocked Colston Loveland to the Denver Broncos. Colston Loveland's tight end out of Michigan, in case you're living in a hole. He's the second best tight end in the draft. Tyler Warren out of Penn State is the best. And I still think that Colston Loveland's a good possibility. Look, what you have now done in free agency is you've filled holes. That's what free agency is for. You're supposed to fill holes in free agency, and then you add depth via the draft. Now, the first round, second round, that's not really for depth. You're looking for starters in those positions. But don't get it twisted. Everybody talks about best player available, BPA. You're going to hear the term BPA all the time as the draft gets closer here. Best player available is a good, sound draft philosophy. It's what the majority of teams do in rounds 3 through 7. They literally have just got a draft board. They've given a grade to every single player that is on their draft board, and they start crossing names off. And by the time they get to their pick, when the Broncos are up in the 3rd, 4th round, they just take the dude with the best grade that is on the board. And you really don't worry too much about what position he plays. Well, in the first round, don't get it twisted. People will talk about BPA. They'll talk about best player available. It is always going to be best player available at a position of need. Name the last first rounder that was drafted. Pick a team. I don't care, any team, yet alone the Denver Broncos. Name the last first rounder that was drafted that was not at a position of need. It's always going to be best player available at a position of need. And the beauty of where the Broncos are at right now is they're in a very healthy position. Very, very healthy. You don't really have too many holes on this team. You got a hole at running back. You would like to add some talent in the wide receiver room. You would like to add another tight end. You would like to add some defensive line help, and you would like to add some corner help, okay? But none of these are glaring holes outside of running back. Running back is the one like glaring hole on this football team. And where the Broncos are at right now, first off, good news, you need a running back. This is the best running back class coming out of college football, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, this is a fantastic class for running backs. You need a running back, this is the year to draft one. Everybody's going to talk about Ashton Jeanty. Yes, if he's on the board at number 20, I would take him. Everybody's going to talk about Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. Yes, I would be intrigued with him. I probably wouldn't take him at number 20, but I probably wouldn't be mad if they took him at number 20 either. And then it gets deep real quick. So you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to draft a running back super high. You could find a starting caliber running back in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round relatively easily this year. And you might even be able to find some guys with some versatility. I know that the Broncos feel like they have filled their joker role with Evan Ingram, but there's other running backs that can be joker-esque as well. What is a joker? It's just a versatile football player. This term joker gets tossed around left and right. It's just a versatile football player that can play in multiple positions. Evan Ingram's not going to be lining up in the backfield. He's not going to be taking carries out of the backfield like Marvin Mims does. You've still got Marvin on the team, so it's not a necessity, and you just brought in Evan Ingram, who's definitely going to play that joker position. But guys like Travion Henderson, running backs that you can create mismatches in the passing game in a joker type of role. So what did the Broncos do in the first round? Well, a couple things. I mean, there's a couple no-brainers, right, that they're very unlikely scenarios, like they're not even worth talking about, but I'll just mention it really quickly. Ashton Jeanty falls to 20. You just select him. Generational running back, you just pick him up. It's a hole, take him. Tyler Warren falls. He gets to like number 16. Fire, move up, go get him. Now, the most mocked player to the Denver Broncos is Colston Loveland out of Michigan. And although you did pick up Evan Ingram in free agency, I say still take him. You need a tight end. You need a younger guy. Evan Ingram's going into year 9, year 10, one of those two, and he's coming off injury. All 3-year free agents are coming off injury. I'm not panicked about it. I still like all the signings, but they are coming off injury, and you don't have enough tight ends on this football team. So if Colston Loveland is your best player available, take him. If Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka, wide receivers, Luther Burden out of Missouri, Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, if those are the best players on your board, take them. You need wide receiver help? Absolutely. I know Sean Payton acts like he's satisfied with our wide receiver room, but let's keep it real. We've got a really good football player in Courtland Sutton that, although I love Courtland Sutton, he's our guy. I want him to get paid. I want him to get an extension from the Broncos. A lot of teams wouldn't consider Courtland Sutton a true number one. You've got Marvin Mims, who had a up-and-coming year and it was cool and it was fun and I'm down with it. And I'm not trying to replace Marvin Mims, but could you get better? Yeah. You got a couple other guys and Troy Franklin that were pretty disappointing. Devon Vele is exciting, but not a yak guy, not a yards after catch guy. What we don't have on this football team is a reliable yards after the catch guy. And the Broncos need that. So I know Sean Payton keeps acting like he's satisfied with the wide receivers on this team. Shoot. If you were to ask me the most likely position to draft in the first round, I think it's going to be wide receiver. I think the Broncos are going to walk away with the wide receiver, whether that's Luther Burden, whether that's Emeka, whether that's somebody else that I haven't mentioned. It's just who the Broncos have got graded as their highest wide receiver that's on the board. It feels like that's the most likely thing that's going to happen because although you've got a huge hole at running back, well, Ashton Genty's not going to be there. Probably a bit of a reach to take Omari in there, although you could talk me into it. And you know it's a great running back draft, so you feel like you could pick up a starting running back in the later rounds. Tight end. Okay, if Colson Loveland's the highest rated, I'm down. Let's go. Best player available at a position of need. But there's also some tight ends in this class. There happens to be a couple local kids that I like a lot. Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. Gunnar Helm out of Texas. Gunnar had a slow 40 at the combine, but it's because he rolled his ankle. If you saw those photos that Gunnar was working with at the combine, I can't believe that he tried to run through it. Dude should have tapped out as soon as he felt that sprained ankle. I'm sure he'll improve that 40 time radically by the time he gets to the Texas Pro Day. There's good tight ends. There's good running backs in this year's draft. And there's always going to be good wide receivers. But what's the most valuable position on a football team outside of quarterback these days? And I don't agree with this, but it's just the facts of what the NFL is telling you. The NFL is telling you wide receivers are the second most valuable position on a football team. Look at the salaries. It didn't used to be this way. When I was playing, the highest paid players were quarterback, then left tackle, then edge rushers, then corner, then wide receiver. They were the fifth highest paid position on a football team. But now it goes QB, it goes wide receiver. I think it's nuts what these wide receivers are getting paid. I think these wide receivers are going to hit a bubble here at some point, and teams are going to regret paying a very dependent position the second most money on a football team. But that's the trend. That's where the NFL is going. The NFL values wide receivers more than any other position outside of QBs. I don't know if you guys saw the deal that Jamar Chase just got, but he's now getting paid $5 million more than Justin Jefferson. These wide receivers are getting $40+ million. So what do you value the most? You value wide receiver in the first round? You value tight end? You value running back? Those are the three holes you still got to fill. I'd be shocked, I mean literally shocked, if they picked any other position than that in the first round. Feels to me like we should start researching the wide receivers in this year's draft. Get to know these names. Sure feels to me like wide receiver feels like a very likely pick in the first round for the Denver Broncos. So the good news is the Broncos are in great position. They filled their holes. They don't have to do anything desperate in the draft. There's nobody that you have to overreach for. Take the best dude at a position of need. Simple as that. Now, they did not address the running back position in free agency. And I still would not be surprised if the Broncos added a guy, maybe a J.K. Dobbins, maybe somebody along those lines. But now you've got time, and now you get to let the market settle, and you could sign whatever veteran running back free agent that's out there whenever you want. There's no rush. I do think the Broncos will still add a veteran running back before training camp, but they're going to draft one as well. So despite the fact that they didn't address it in free agency, I'm not panicked about it. I'm good. I think the Broncos feel good as well, and that's why they haven't panicked. I do think it's interesting to see how quickly the dollar figures go up in the NFL. And we got three guys on our own team that all want big money. Zach Allen wants $25 million per year. Cortland Sutton wants a contract extension. And Nick Benito wants his first big-time contract. I don't know that the Broncos can lock all three of them up this offseason. You might have to choose two out of the three. Maybe they can get all three done. I think that's asking a lot, but the good news is that I think you can get a bit of a budget deal done on Courtland Sutton, and we'll see what happens with Nick Bonitto. If you were to ask me if you were to do 2 out of 3 right now, what I would do, I'd extend Courtland Sutton because I think that's going to be relatively easy to do. I would get Zach Allen done. He, to me, is the MVP of that defense. He is the engine that makes everything work on that defense, even more than Nick Bonitto. And Nick Bonitto is a hell of a football player. But I would prioritize Courtland Sutton and Zach Allen, and I would try to get it done as quickly as I can, because it feels like it was just yesterday that Pat Surtain was made the highest paid corner in the NFL, and he ain't even in the top 3 anymore. There are 3 dudes in the NFL all making more money than Pat Surtain at the corner position, and it was just yesterday that Pat Surtain became the highest paid corner. Derek Stingley Jr., $30 million per year. 30. J.C. Horn, $25 million per year. Jalen Ramsey, $24.1 million per year. They gave him that 0.1 just so he could get ahead of Pat Surtain. Pat Surtain is now the 4th highest paid corner in the NFL, making $24 million per year. I know, poor Pat, making $24 million per year. How's he going to make it? But the point is, the longer you wait on elite talent, the more it goes up. Simple as that. So you could gamble. You could wait a little bit longer if you want to for Zach Allen. Some defensive tackle's probably going to make the price go up. So I'd get ahead of it. I'd try to get Zach Allen done as soon as I can. I'd try to get Courtland Sutton done as soon as I can. If I could afford to get Nick Bonitto done at the same time, I would do that as well. But here's the thing on Nick. He's proved it. So it's not that Nick has anything to prove, but he is still a young football player. He is still on his rookie deal. He does still have 1 year left on that deal. And if you really wanted to, you could be like, hey, Nick, just get 4 or 5 games in. Just give us 4 or 5 games to work this thing out. We'll give it to you in the middle of the year. Make sure that Nick proves it again. Make sure that he does it again, right? You want to make sure that he's still ascending and not descending. You want to make sure that he's still playing at that level. So I know Nick and his camp wouldn't like that. And my preference would be to get all 3 of them done as soon as you possibly can. But I think Nick Bonitto would be the easiest one to wait on. I think Courtland Sutton would just flat out sit out. I think Zach Allen would probably sit out as well. And Nick Bonitto is still young enough that if you come to him in the middle of the season with a healthy deal, he hasn't had his big payday yet, he'd probably take that bread that's in front of him as soon as he possibly could. But you do want to prioritize these guys. You want to get it done as quickly as you can because as you see, these numbers, they go up by the week. They go up by the day. It's not even by the month. It's not even by the year. The next week that goes by, somebody's making $2 million more at your same position. And that's why you want to get it done. All right, that's all I got for you guys tonight. If you guys have not subscribed to Mount Polumbus Speaks on YouTube, I know the majority of you guys watch on Twitter. Please hit that link in my bio on Twitter. Head on over to YouTube and hit subscribe. I put out content that lives uniquely to YouTube if you want to make sure you don't miss out on any of my content. And also, if you just like me, if you appreciate the podcast, know you're doing me a huge solid by going on over to YouTube and hitting subscribe. And if you really love me, you want to help me grow my account over there, hit like on this video on YouTube, maybe comment. It does wonders for the algorithm when you get a few comments on the videos, and I'd be very grateful to that. Again, I want to thank my title sponsor, Safeway. Make sure you download their app, put it on your phone today, save money, save time, and thank you to Send Barbershop and Parker. Make sure you check them out if you